Sanam, aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And I'm hoping that people will start jumping on soon. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm live. Okay. I just want to wait a second before I start getting. Oh, okay. Looks like we're live. Okay. Great. Okay. So today I want to talk about Venus retrograde. Make sure that that's all. Venus retrograde. And let me pull up a slide here. So I just did the chart here. So you can see the glyph of Venus is in the 29.5 right there, the 29. And so if this were to make a channel, this is the human design transit chart, is the 29 would meet up with the 46. So this is the sacral, the 29, and then the G center is this shape just above that. So that would be the 46. If the 46 and the 29 were connected, the G center would be, gives us our sense of self, love and direction, right? That would be colored in, and this would be the channel of discovery, it's called. It's called the channel of discovery. And so this is about going on brand new experiences, cycles of experience. So the 29, that gives us some more information about what this Venus retrograde is about. And remember, it's the retrograde in Leo, in the archetype of Leo. So I'm going to take a different approach, of course. There's lots of stuff on YouTube about Venus retrograde. So this is a new approach, and it has to do with human design in the shadow patterns. Okay. So what's this Venus retrograde about? It's about a lot of things, but it's about what I want to focus on. It's about coming back into wholeness. It's about bringing problems or people from the past so that you can integrate old wounds. And you learn where you don't love yourself and where you're not committed, right? So this has to do with the shadow pattern. So this is a very good transit to do your emotional inner work, especially if you've been avoiding it. You'll be forced in on yourself basically through this transit. Okay, so let's talk about the 29 before we get into the tarot there. So there's the shadow, right? The shadow of 29. So the 29 has a shadow, it has a gift, and then it has a city, a divine city. So this is about, it's called the shadow of half-heartedness. So it's the opposite of commitment, right? So this is about giving up, the first sign of trouble, right? First challenge that you meet on your life journey during this transit. I'm just giving up, right? It's not meant to be. I'm just going to give up. You must hang on to things that are harmful to you. So there's the commitment, right? Half-heartedness is like, I'm not committed at all. Or the other side of it, the other expression is, I'm overcommitted. I'm committed to these things that are not good for me. I'm committed to my addictions, basically, right? That would be an example. Or I'm addicted to this really bad relationship. And then I must distrust my heart. I don't trust my heart. I just trust that ego and mind, right? The not self, your ego and your mind. You have a deep distrust of where you are in your life right now, where you find yourself in your life right now. I'm not supposed to be living here. I'm not supposed to be in this job. I'm not supposed to be having these experiences that I'm having, right? This is the shadow of half-heartedness. You see how it takes you, half-heartedness takes you away from the present, right? Committed to the present moment. And that you must give your power away to an outside authority because you don't trust yourself, right? You don't trust your higher self. You don't trust your intuition. And it's also about postponement. Half-heartedness is all about postponement. So I postpone, I keep things putting things off. And right next, when this happens, then I can go and do my soul purpose. Right. When I have these qualifications, when I finish my degree, when I'm more settled, when, it's always when, the postponement, that's the shadow of half-heartedness. And so this keeps you from taking action in your life. So every shadow has a fear. And the fear here is that you made a mistake on your journey. So remember, this is the channel of discovery, the 2946. This is about going on the fool's journey. It's like I'm going on to this new chapter in my life, right? I'm saying yes. 29 is like I'm saying yes to this. I'm committed to this experience, right? While the fear is here, well, what if, right? Well, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if I may make a mistake, right? So this is the big fear with the 29. So Venus retrograde is going to really bring where you're half-hearted in your life. So we'll go through that, right? We'll go through the astrology chart to see how that may play out during this time. And that also this shadow is a mental self-image that doesn't match up with your life. So the mental self-image could be, well, I'm in this age, so I should be married and I should have a family by now, or I should be at this stage in my career, whatever it is, whatever the mental image is, that's the projection, right? So it gets projected out in the world, and then the world isn't reflecting that back to you. So this can make you half-hearted too, right? So that's the shadow. So you get a little taste of that. And then the gift is commitment and devotion. So when you transcend your shadow, which is basically just to see it. Oh yeah, I am a little bit half-hearted in this part of my life. Okay, there's half the battle right there that you spotted it. You see it, you feel it, whatever fears come up, you feel those fears. And then it transcends into commitment and devotion. So that same energy that was used to pull you away from your authenticity, from your soul purpose, can now be used for commitment and devotion. So this is trusting in your own inner guidance. So not looking to other people, right? Not looking to an outside authority, right? Holding nothing back. I'm fully here 100%. I don't have plan B. I don't have a plan C or D or E. I'm holding nothing back. I'm fully committed to this present moment. I know that the future will take care of itself, right? So half-heartedness, right? It's about projecting yourself into the future. That's not good. And you stand by your commitments. When you say your yes, okay, yes, I'm committed to this next leg of my journey, this next experience, then I'm standing by my commitment. And I say yes to life, and therefore you attract luck, right? As soon as you say yes, all that energy that's been used for resistance, I think I made a mistake. I don't know if I should be doing this. I should be doing a plan C or a D. That's all your energy dissipates, right? So your power dissipates. That's how it works, right? So it's like that. I talked about this before with the bucket. There's all the holes in the bucket leaking all your energy, then your power, right, goes down. It's you're not as radiant, right? So when you say yes to life, all the exit doors are closed. It's like, no, this is what I'm committed to. And there, boy, you attract luck because you're more powerful, you're more radiant, right? You can attract. You don't worry about what other people expect from you. And you stand behind your decisions and remain a devotee of your heart. And what's your heart? That's the emotional body. That's the inner child. So you become a devotee of your inner child again. So, so that's the shadow. And so let's look at the date. So July 22nd. So tomorrow, 23rd, depending where you live in the world. And it's going to go until September 3rd, 2023, right? So here are some questions to ask yourself, some questions that will be answered during this transit period. Why can't I consistently love myself? Right? Like true self-love, like accepting all parts of yourself. Loving yourself when you're messing up, when you're not doing well, right? When you're in a pickle, when you're in your deepest challenges in your life, right? And also when you're at the top of your game, when you feel like you're at the top, right? Because we go the emotional wave is up and down. You love yourself consistently, no matter what, if you're up or down, right? Why can't I be my authentic self? Why can't I? Why do I always feel like I got to put on a show? Why do I always feel like I got to put on this mask so that people will accept me? Right? Right. These are some questions to ask yourself during this transit. Why am I emotionally unstable? Like really up and down, triggered left and right by life and people, or I'm completely numb. I'm not feeling anything. Why do I put myself last in relationships? It's a good question to ask yourself too. Why don't I ask for what I need? Right? Why don't I love myself? That's basically the question of Venus Leo retrograde. Why do I keep choosing this kind of person? Why does this keep happening to me in relationships? Right? So we're looking at relationships with Venus and Leo, but you're also looking at your own sense of self-worth too with Venus and Leo as well. Well, we've got to go to this inner child. The Venus and Leo archetype is the inner child, right? So have people, okay, good. People put down if you've got the 29 too. So have people seen the movie The Sound of Freedom? Yeah. It's really good. And I know there's a lot of spiritual people that say, we don't want to look at that because whatever you look at expands, right? That's not the way to do it right now because there's a such thing as a denial. Just because you deny something exists doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And with shadow work, right, we live in a plane of duality. We're transcending shadow and light merging into one. So we do need to look at these things, and they're also a reflection of what's going on in the collective of unconscious, right? The human collective unconscious. That's what I'm really interested in, right? What's going on in there? What's being integrated? What's being healed? And we can see signs of it out here in the external world. So anyway, it's a really good movie, and not to be afraid of it, especially if it's your first introduction into like what's going on in the world. It's basic, it's not graphic, it's not gratuitous, it's not manipulative, emotionally manipulative in that way. It's just a really good introduction for people, right? So I would suggest to watch that if you can. It's doing really, really well. And it's really setting a fire in the collective right now, the human collective. And it's the whistleblowers are starting to come out. The people that have been silent are going to start speaking out. And this also connects to Venus retrograde, but it also connects with Saturn and Pisces, because Pisces rules children too. So all these hidden shadows are going to start to emerge, especially this summer, right? So signs of unhealed child wounds. This answers some of these questions. Why am I like this? Why can't I be myself? Right? Well, here are some signs of unhealed childhood wounds. Fixing others, like overly fixated on other people, focused on other people. If I just fix them, then I can be okay. People pleasing, right? This is the banana spine, never always agreeable, right? Afraid of any kind of confrontation. Codependency. Are you seeing a theme here? This is South Node Libra. What we're leaving behind. My last video was a little bit about that. Needing external validation, right? Being validated, can't validate yourself. You need to always be continually validated by the external, by people. Living on high alert, right? So in survival mode, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, needing to prove yourself, not in touch with your own needs. tolerant, overly tolerant of abusive behavior, right? Being the doormat. You attract narcissistic people in your life. You're challenged to set boundaries. You have addictions, money problems. I could go more and more into this, but this is the root. This is the root of all of this. And so you may have been putting off your inner child work, right? Because we can't get away with this because this is how we're evolving. Remember, we're going through this solar plexus mutation for 2027. This is our emotional body. What's our emotional body? It's that 0 to 7-year-old, right? This is where we're headed. So we can't avoid this work at all. And remember the pathway of awareness. We're going from the physical, mental, emotional to the frequency. We don't get to the frequency vibrational until we do this emotional stuff. So we all have it because we live on a planet that that doesn't honor the child, right? That has, and this is our power. Our power is in our innocence, right? Our power is our inner child, but it's wounded, right? And it's calling for our attention. All this stuff, all the drama in your life and the challenges in your life, it's a call from your inner child. If you're having emotions that are like, I'm so overwhelmed by my emotions right now, I'm so triggered by this person, or I'm so triggered by this, it's the past. It has nothing to do with the present. It's the past is calling you to come back and integrate, right? And integration is to feel it. It's just to feel it, completely feel it. And then it goes, and then it goes, and then you heal, you grow up, you emotionally develop. So it's really interesting just with the sound of freedom, and then all of this energy around the inner child that's up right now. And there's a real attack on children on the planet right now. We can see it out in the world with these new government policies and this and that. I don't want to get into the politics of it. I look at it as a symbol, and it's the attack. And this is what's going to bring us all together as a humanity, is we'll come for the children, because we've all been children. Our human nature is to protect, right? When I see a child, my protective human nature comes out. I'm sure the same for you, or your nurturing nature comes out. And so anything that goes against that is against our human nature. It's against our humanity. And this is one thing where we can't be gaslit, you know? Oh, it's okay to abuse children. Oh, it's okay to sexualize children. Inside, you're like, no, your human nature will be so repulsed by that. It's like, no, this goes so far away from our human nature. I can't be talked into this, right? So this is what's exciting during this time right now. It's going to bring us together, right? This is the one thing that will unite humanity, right? Is to stand up for the children. And what are we doing? Some of us have to play it on the external. Some of us karmically have to bring an actual child into the world to be a father or mother to a child. And what are they doing? They're healing their own inner child, or you're doing it yourself, right? If you don't have children, but we all have to face this, right? Is to heal our own inner child, either externally, I'm going to go run out and rescue children, or I'm going to rescue my own inner child, right? But the two paths are actually one. Okay, so the divine child during this time. So this is the transmutation that happens when you attend to that wounded child from the 0 to 7 years old. And there's no memory there, right? There's no memory. A lot of people don't remember their abuse in their childhood until when they're in their 50s or 60s, right? That's how powerful it is, because it lives in the emotional body, right? So right now we're going through an individuation process, right? For the global cycle of the awakening of the sleeping phoenix, 2027, the Aquarian age, individuation. So we have to be our authentic self, and we can't do that until we reclaim our inner child, right? This is Venus and Leo retrograde. And I went through the signs of the wounded inner child. And so when that wound happens, your emotional body stops, right? It's like going through some kind of trauma with your with your brain, and right, and the brain stops and it doesn't develop, and then you're stuck at that age. You're stuck as a, I don't know, a 9-year-old or something mentally. Well, emotionally, we've all been stuck. We're all stuck between 0 and 7, somewhere in there. And this keeps us in survival mode. When our emotional body stops, it keeps us, because it doesn't grow, it's stunted. It keeps us in reptilian brain, right? Keeps us in survival mode. And then what does it make for, right? Wounded children that grow up. What happens? Their brain and their mind is developed, and physically they can handle life, but emotionally they can't handle anything. Well, it makes for obedient, compliant, powerless, non-creative adults, right? So do you see the negative forces on the planet? This is why they're not so keen, right, on this. Let's make this a human issue. It's like, no, because when we're strong, when we're healed, when our inner child is healed, we're powerful. That's our power. We've been taught the opposite. Our innocence is our power. This connects us to our hearts. It connects us to our intuition in a real way. It makes us very powerful and very creative beings, right? So this is what Venus and Leo retrograde is pointing us toward. This is the work that we have to do right now. The divine child. So what else do I want to say about that? Okay. Oh, back to this here. Okay. So you'll start to feel it, right? It's going to be a very emotional time this summer. But if you keep this in mind, then it's going to give you a focus. So instead of fighting the mirror, right, and what life is bringing you to point you back to this inner child work, right? Instead of fighting the mirror, that's just going to prolong it, postpone it. That's the shadow of half-heartedness. It's commit. I'm going to commit. I'm going to be present with my emotions. Whatever my emotions are coming up, I'm going to be present with them, right? Fully available, accepting them. And this is how you learn to love yourself and respect yourself. Okay. So then I looked at the Venus retrograde in the third decan. So it's like 28 degrees, maybe 29 degrees. I don't know the exact degree, but it's the third decan, right, of Leo, or Venus and Leo. And this is the 7 of Wands, right? So you can see him up on the hill with his wand, and he's fighting, right? He's fighting. He's standing his ground. He's standing his ground. So this is about you standing up for yourself, not standing up for this ego, but for your true self, your authentic self. And it also brings spiritual tests. So you can expect that with this Venus retrograde cycle. Spiritual tests gives you the courage to follow your truth, what you know is right in your heart, to follow that. And then the rescue mission for your own inner child, to reclaim that, and that's going to bring a lot of power to you, right? You can't deny this anymore. You can't deny this work anymore, right? It's going to really be up in people's faces. We're already seeing that with people get easily triggered with the North Node in Aries too, easily triggered and angry. But there's something beneath the anger, right? Okay. So the other thing I want to say is, if you've done my inner child program, my Heal Your Inner Child program, the 6-week program that I have, and this is Kundalini yoga meditations and teachings, and it's a culmination of years and years and years of my own experience and study and working with people. And it's amazing when I work with people, it always goes back to this 0 to 7-year-old. That's the root of the problem, right? Everybody's problems can be rooted during this time. And then I've got the Awakens the Sleeping Phoenix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the two programs, because they're basically a little bit different, but the same. But And this is really reclaiming your inner child. And it totally fits with the awakening, the sleeping phoenix, because it fits with the solar plexus mutation that I get. And so you get a lot of information about what evolutionary, more of the details that I don't have time to share here on YouTube, right? And so it prepares you for 2027. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have live meetings. So that's going to start next week, right? Next Sunday. So live meetings. So if you've already been in one of these programs, then you're all set to go. So keep that in mind, because this will be a great way to really like having someone hold your hand through this process, because it's really, you really enter tender areas and not everybody's able to do this on their own. I understand that, right? So keep that in mind. That's going to start next week, and that will take us through the whole retrograde cycle. So it'll be live Zoom meetings with Q&A. Okay. Okay. I just want to look at some comments here before we get into some of the signs. I just have this on my laptop. Okay. Satnam, everybody. Collagen Babe's got the 29. Yeah. Okay. CC Moon, so you're loving the Phoenix program, right? It's good. And the daily practice, and it gives you a daily practice. It gives you tools, like real tools to do this. And it's amazing. I've got to get more testimonials up on my website. And please join my newsletter list too. So I'll put more information in my newsletter about it. But it's amazing when you start to really do this work and really dive in and commit. That's the gift. Commit to do the inner child work. How you gain gifts that you didn't even need. You didn't even think you needed. You know, just that sense of peace, and your relationships are a lot smoother. Life's a lot smoother for you. You know, that contentment. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And it's really about, it's, you know, a lot of astrologers are like, oh, it's about other relationships with other people. It's really about your relationship with your own self, you know? Yeah. CC Moon said she can relate to that whole list. Yeah. Deania, the film is Sound of Freedom. And you've got to look it up, because the negative forces on this planet do not want people watching it. They don't advertise it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's start with we'll see how it plays out in the chart. And I want to make sure I'm having a new way of doing this. So okay, good. Good. Okay, just give me a second here to get my wheel up. Okay. We'll go with Okay, so we've got Aries. I want to make sure people can see that. Oh, good, you can see it. Great. Okay, so Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. It's going to be in your fifth house, Venus retrograde. So that, of course, is the inner child, Aries, the fifth house, and your creativity. Okay. So this is about committing. For all the signs, Aries has to commit to their inner child, right? And to what brings them joy. And where have you been half-hearted with your inner child? Where have you been putting off play? The inner child wants to play. The inner child's very, very creative. So there may be some wounding there for you to explore, or even spending time with children. That can really bring up wounds for people. You notice that with people that are really uncomfortable around children, because it triggers their own wounded inner child, right? So this is about you learning what you love, what you enjoy doing. And a good way to look at it, the fifth house, this isn't something you get paid for. It doesn't have a purpose. So it's playing without any kind of sense of purpose. That would be really healthy for you. I'm just going to do it because I enjoy it. So maybe Venus retrograde will help you, get out of those habits of control. Oh, this is what I do to enjoy myself. I indulge in this addiction, right? This is what I do for pleasure. And it's like your inner child doesn't want that, because addictions are all about stuffing the inner child down, right? Just making it numb. I don't want to feel anything. If it gives you joy, or even go back, that's what I would suggest too, is go back to your childhood, what you enjoyed doing as a child, right? Yeah. Anything else for that? And commit to it. Just commit, make it a sadhana, right? I'm going to have fun, and this is what I'm going to do for fun. As a child, I love doing puzzles, right? Whatever it is. And I'm going to commit to do puzzles every day, right? Every day I'm going to spend an hour and do puzzles. Yeah. And this is committing to your inner child, because we have to remember, this is what I talk about in my program, is there's a trinity inside of us, right? And there is your inner child that's in there. It's an entity that's inside you that never grows up, that's calling for your attention. And what does the child want from you? Not from anybody else, but from you, is your attention and your presence, right? And your consistency. That's why the commitment is really important, because it builds that trust, right? Okay. So let's go for Taurus here. Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. And that's happening in the fourth house. So this is all about your emotions, Taurus. Committed to your emotions, your home. So your spiritual home is your heart. So committing to your heart, whatever's going on for you emotionally, not being half-hearted about, and half-hearted when you're doing emotional work could be like the crocodile tears. Do you ever see people like that? I call them crocodile tears. They're crying, but they stay on the surface they stay on the surface. They're not doing the real emotional work. They're staying here on the surface, either in anger or fear, or anger, fear, grief, right? And they're not going to the very, very end. They're not fully committed to do that emotional work. And so they stay locked. They stay locked on the surface of things. And so Taurus, you can trick yourself into thinking, oh no, I'm doing emotional work. Look, I was crying. And it's like, no, were you half-hearted? Did you get to a point, a level in your emotional body? Because remember, you're moving through the emotional body to heal. And then no, I don't want to go any further than that. I don't want to know what that next level is, right? I don't want to go to the basement here of my psyche, of my emotional body. I want to stop here. So you don't want to be half-hearted with that. And you also want to look at your mother, because the fourth house is also your mother. So any nurturing that you didn't receive as a child, Taurus, or any projections, right? Parents project on children left and right? To explore that a little bit more during this Venus retrograde. And this is about you getting an emotional upgrade as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, you know? And if you look at your chart, if you look at your Mars, conscious Mars, so in this case, it's 40.3. Do you see that? 40.3. If it were 40.6 or on any number, but it had a 0.6, that means you're here to be an emotional master. It's emotional mastery, right? So this, if you're a Taurus and you've got a 0.6, then you're here to help other people to uncover the wisdom found within the emotional body when it fully develops, right? When it heals. So that's what I would explore for you, and what home means to you. What does home mean to me, Venus retrograde? What does home mean to me? Is it physical trappings, or is it feeling self-love, right? Is it feeling like I belong here on the planet? Like, just ask yourself some big questions like that. Anything else for the fourth house? Yeah. And I would also say, and this may sound counterintuitive, is detach. The only way that we're going to be able to do this emotional work is if we're coming from our higher self. You know, our higher self can handle those high voltage emotions from childhood, the fear, the anger, the grief. If you're in your ego identity, it's overwhelming. You can't do it. You've got to be in the higher self. And the higher self means that you're detached, right? So detachment doesn't mean like I'm numb to it. I'm still feeling. I'm feeling, but it's more of its feelings and frequencies moving through me rather than I'm overwhelmed by anger and I'm angry. So you don't want to be owning the emotions, Taurus, in that sense. Okay. And learning how to nurture yourself, right? With the fourth house. So is that for it for Taurus? Yeah. Okay. And let's go for Gemini. Where's Gemini? Okay. Libra, Aquarius. Did I not put a Gemini? Just a sec. There we go. There's Gemini. So Gemini, sun, moon, or rising. It's in your third house for Gemini. So this is all about your thinking, right? And your siblings. So there might be something, Gemini, to explore in terms of committing to your emotional work, your inner child work, and it has to maybe do with your siblings. So often siblings can bring up unhealed dynamics, like sibling dynamics can bring up competitiveness, right? Comparing yourself to other people, not feeling valued. Like I always feel like I've got to compete and I've got to have an edge on this other person in my life. Well, it comes from siblings, jealousy, all that stuff comes from sibling dynamics. So to look at that, right? Your relationship with your siblings during this Venus retrograde period, not be half-hearted about it. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. This is the work. This is our spiritual work right now, is to reclaim this inner child and do our emotional work and complete our childhood, complete our emotional development. Our emotional development is so low now as a general rule on the planet, right? So this has to evolve, and your spiritual power comes in, right? When you really dig into this emotional work. So I would look at your way of thinking, right? Your way of how do I think about My emotions, do I even consider my emotions, or am I a Gemini and I'm just in my head about everything, right? Am I actually in my body, right? Do I feel what's going on with me? This is the commitment, right? The commitment is like, what's going on inside, right? Not be so focused on what's going on outside, right? Like what's going on inside me right now? What stuff's coming up for me about what I'm seeing in the outside world? And right, this is your neighbors, this is your community, right? This is where Venus retrograde will really play out for you in those areas of your life. But it's about committing to go deeper. That's what I see with that. Yeah. In your environment, it's going to play out in your environment, your day-to-day environment. I would also mention too, with just because it's in the third house, is talking yourself out of your feelings. So feeling starts to surface, emotions start to surface, and then Gemini, nah, that's not real. I'm not angry. Right? I shouldn't be angry. Right? There's so many. It's so silly. Why should I be angry about this little thing? Well, what's real? Oh, what's real? I'm angry. That's what's real. What's not real are the thoughts in my head about it. Right? So I would commit to, like, okay, I'm committed to my feelings. I'm committed to my emotions during this Venus retrograde. And this is what's real. And that's what I stand behind. I'm not going to gaslight myself. Right. Okay. Anything else for Gemini? No. Okay. So let's go for Cancer. Cancer. Piece of paper there. So Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. It's playing out in the second house. So Venus retrograde taking place in the second house. Then this is your finances and your money. So Venus retrograde could bring up some money stuff for you, right? And will be played out by that. But remember, it's not really about the money. It's not a money problem, it's an emotional problem. And the emotional problem is low self-worth, right? Cancer. So being half-hearted about that's the shadow to look into. I'm half-hearted about my self-worth. I'm not able to ask for what my true value is. Maybe you're not able to ask for a raise, or you undervalue yourself left and right. You don't think that you're worth much. So this is where all that comes out to play, is through money. And through my prosperity program, my webinar series, it's really rooted in shame, right? This low self-worth is rooted into shame. So this is something for you to explore. Like, who told you that you weren't worth anything, right? This is what you dig up from the 0 to 7-year-old, right? Comes up and it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Well, you do know through your emotions. Remember it's emotional memory, 0 to 7 years old. Comes through your emotions. It doesn't come through the rational, right? It doesn't come through the rational. So to look at that, and it's going to really bring up, like, oh, how do I conflate money with my sense of self-worth? Well, if you're doing that, this is the age of Aquarius, it's the age of truth, then that will be taken away from you, right? Money won't show up. And it's like, oh, all my self-worth issues start to come up, right? Because what's been hiding is this, well, the money's always there. Well, the money's not there, then what happens? Well, your work starts to come up. So Cancer, you're good at feeling anyway, emotions. Like, that's, if you're a Cancer Sun, Moon, or Rising, you're out here to deal with the emotional realm, right? So it can bring up survival stuff, right? Survival stuff, food, Venus retrograde, you may be eating too much to watch that. And it's just about committing, just committing. All of us, all the signs is committing to what is in the present moment. What is in the present moment for me? What is going on inside me, right? Not what's going on outside me. It's like what's going on inside me. That's my real work with Venus retrograde. And this is going to reclaim that this inner child that feels like she doesn't have any self-worth, right? And it doesn't, to remember that you can have 2 pennies in your pocket or $2 billion in your pocket. Your self-worth doesn't change, doesn't shift, right? The external doesn't dictate to you what your self-worth is. That comes from deep inside you. That comes from your own sense of self-love and your soul. Anything else for Cancer? Yeah, so it's about commitment, internal commitment, and not half-heartedness is when you're going to go outside and you're going to try to fix everything on the external. And that's a way of avoiding the real work. And the real work is happening inside you. That's your real work, right? Okay, that's for Cancer. And then we got Leo, of course. Leo's in the first house. So this is all about you. This is about you. This is about you committing to you. It's about you committing to your authentic self, right? And Leo is the divine child anyways, and as the archetype, that's what Leo represents. So this is about your self-image, right? How you show up in the world. It's about your body, right? So look at this. It's like, okay, I'm going to commit to just be present right here. And you're going to notice this, Leo, sun, moon, or rising. How many distractions there are in the world that take you away from the present moment. That phone has 1,000,001 ways, right? Just even that little gadget that you carry around with you is a huge distraction. There's always distractions that are distracting you out of the present moment. This is about you committing, like being the embodiment of commitment and devotion, right? To being in the present moment, showing up for your life. I'm not going to like hide and wear a mask. I'm just going to wear this mask out in the world and just hide and just get through this life, right? Unscathed. It's like, no, I'm gonna show up as a leader. That's Leo. Leo is the leader. I'm gonna show up and commit and be devoted and follow my heart. That's what I'm committed to, is my heart. I'm following my inner child, right? That's the creative being. I'm going to be the embodiment of that for other people. Maybe that they can't do it themselves, but they're like, hey, she's doing it. That Leo over there is doing it. I can do it too, right? I can show up too. What else for half-heartedness? Commitment. The other thing I want to say is, and I think I said this with another sign, is when you commit to being fully present and fully in your radiance, and fully in your heart and fully in your power, then you're going to become very, very magnetic. So Leo, if you feel like I haven't been really noticed, right, this last while, or I feel like I'm invisible, or I'm disappearing. Well, if you're getting that kind of reflection back from the external world, then it means that you're not showing up, right? You're invisible because you are not showing up. You're invisible to yourself. So to watch that, don't abandon yourself, right? With Leo in the first house. I'm committed to being here, right? I'm committed to being here. I'm committed to showing up. I've come to this planet to have human experience. I'm come to this planet to like love myself. I've come to this planet to be a creator, right? And I'm showing up. I'm showing up for this life. No matter what challenges are coming at me, right? I'm going to stand up for myself, right? The Venus, listen to the whole beginning. This so applies to you, right? I'm going to be that 7 of Wands, right? I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to have the courage to follow my truth, courage to follow my heart. Yeah. And then look at any wounding around your physical body and your appearance. That's what I would look at too. That could be coming up too with the Venus in retrograde. I don't love my body. I don't like how I look, right? That's all stuff from the past that's coming up to be integrated. Okay. Anything else for Leo? Let's go for Virgo. So this is Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. There we go. And I did that just for Virgo. See the whole thing here. They like perfection. Okay. So Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, it's in your 12th house commitment. So this is about relaxing, right? It's about relaxing. It's about sleep. It's about meditation. It's about retreat. It's about committing to give yourself some solitude, Virgo, right? Sun, Moon, or Rising. Virgo likes to fix. Virgo likes to be busy in the head, right? Always loves to be solving problems, the archetype of Virgo. And then Venus in retrograde is now you need to chill, right? You need some time alone. You need to like discharge all that mental energy. You just need to relax and just focus on yourself. No, right? Not on other people. You need to be alone, right? You need some alone time with Venus in retrograde. And maybe you didn't have that as a child. Maybe you didn't, there was no time for you. You had parents that had every hour of every day accounted for you, right? You were very, very controlled. You had to always be working, always serving, always focused on other people. And now Venus in retrograde is like, no, it's time for you to chill, right? And to relax. So the thing to watch out for, like the downside of this is like, okay, I'm going to spend time alone, but you're not going to spend time alone in your addictions, you know? It's going to be really spiritually nurturing for you. Like your retreat, and you can actually go to a retreat or maybe just create a retreat for yourself at home, right? Your own room. And I'm just going to tell your friends, you know what? I'm going to really spend some quality time alone for me. And it's also about surrendering into your spirituality. Like just commit to that. I'm committing to alone time. I'm not going to have every hour of every day accounted for that I'm busy. I'm going to have relaxation time with no attachment to any outcome. I'm just going to be alone for just being alone's sake. You know, this is not turning off the social media and all that. It's like I'm completely alone. I'm not even reading a book. I'm just going to be alone, right? In that space. And so just because it's the 12th house, right? It's a completion of a cycle. So it's like past lives where maybe you didn't have alone time, right? Or your ancestors didn't have that kind of alone time in solitude and to contemplate things, you know, can bring up a lot of fears, right? A lot of fears. Yeah, to relax, committed to your relaxation. And the thing is to tell Virgos is you'll be even more productive, right? If we look at the heart, because it's Venus retrograde in Leo, the heart and how the heart works. it's pumping, but it also takes a rest in between, right? The beats, it takes a rest and then gives to itself. So that's like you, Virgo. It's like Venus retrograde. It's like take a rest and give to yourself. And then you can go because they're so service oriented, right? Virgos. And then you can give. So I feel like there's a rebalancing that needs to take place for Virgos. So to commit to that, to relax by being alone. A lot of people are afraid to be alone. Okay. And then let's go for Libra. In here. There we go. So Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. That's going to be in your 11th house. So this is it's about your friendships and your networks of people that you're hanging out with. With Venus retrograde, it's going to show you in truth. And the thing is, right now, people are showing themselves to us, and don't look away. When people are showing you some greebly stuff and showing you that they're not going to be able to hide it, not with North Node Aries, right? So if you have a friend that's like, oh my God, I had no idea they were like this, or I had no idea that they thought this about me or felt this way about me, don't look away, right? That's the universe showing you, right? And then, the half-heartedness is, well, they're all right. I rather spend time with people rather than being alone. Well, they're not perfect, but I'd rather this than being alone. And Venus retrograde is showing you our relationships show us, right? Our relationship dynamics show us our relationship with our own self, with our own higher self, right? So maybe some friends are half-hearted with you. You've been there for them, Libras, right? I was there for them when they really needed me, right? I was there. I was out the door. I was right. I had the soup for them, and I nurtured them, and I listened to them, and I helped them. And then here I am in need, and they're not to be found, right? It's just to see people in truth, right? So don't be half-hearted about what you're seeing with your friends, with the network of friends. Because as soon as you let some of these people go, you don't even have to make a big pronouncement about it often. It's about acknowledging it to yourself. You know what? I deserve better friends, Libra. I deserve better friends that are equal, right? Libra likes equality, that are equal. They're devoted to me as much as I'm devoted to them. It's the gift of devotion, the city of devotion. Then it makes room, right? Those people will just disappear, but it will make room for the people that are actually really committed to you, right? Committed to your to you as a friend and value you as a friend. Yeah. So the commitment starts with you first. I'm committed to myself first. I'm committed to myself first, right? This is the boundaries. These are my boundaries. These are my deal breakers, right? This is what I expect from a friendship, and this is what I give in a friendship. And if that can't be met, right? And you're going to be able to see it as soon as you make that commitment to yourself first, then you're going to be your own best friend first. Then you're going to be able to, oh, that person's not aligned with this. No, they're not aligned. It will become really, really clear. And then it makes room for the new people to come in, right? The new friendship that come in. Yeah. Anything else for that? I would also say don't postpone it, right? Because that's the shadows, postponement. Look in truth. Don't go in denial. Just look in truth at these friends that are around you. Because the thing is, we end up being the 5 people that we spend the most time with. We end up becoming them. This is how we influence one another. So, do you want to be like the 5 people you hang around with? Like, look at that in truth. Okay. Anything else for Libra? Because we're looking at the inner child too. To let your inner child know that you deserve better quality of friendship. Okay. Because friends can really help us grow in consciousness if we choose the right people. You don't want to be choosing people that agree with everything you say, but those people that like they're strong enough in themselves that they can speak the truth, right? Not to put you down, but to help you, right? You find a friend that can speak the truth to you, you want to hold on to them, right? A lot of people do not want to speak the truth to other people, not to their friends. They want to play this people pleasing game, right? They're afraid to, but it doesn't serve your friend. If your friend's got spinach on their teeth, you're going to say you got spinach on your teeth. You're not going to let them walk around like that, and a true friend will appreciate that, and vice versa. So you're really learning what a friend is, Libra, during this Venus retrograde. Okay. What are we on now, Scorpio? So there's Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising. And that is in the 10th house. The 10th house. So this is about your vocation, your career. And have you been half-hearted, Scorpio, about your career choice? Are you being called with this Venus retrograde to bust a move, to upgrade, right? But you've been postponing it, or you're half-hearted about it. Well, I'd rather be comfortable, right? I'd rather stay in this comfortable position when life is really calling you to do the upgrade. Right? Avoiding a social, because the 10th house is where you shine, right? It's your social responsibility, right? So you may be being called, your intuition is like, it's time for you to apply for that job, or it's time for you to quit and leave this position here with the Venus in retrograde there. But I don't know. I don't feel like I can do it. You can have worth issues come up. I'm not qualified, right? All this stuff's going to come up. And so it may not happen during the Venus retrograde period, but it's preparing you for that position, right? That social position in your career, right? It's taking your rightful place as a leader. That's what it's saying, because the Leo rules your 10th house, right? You're supposed to shine in whatever you do. Yeah. But it's just bringing up, or maybe you're not getting it, right? Maybe, oh, this is something that I've really felt confident in my life in, is my career. And then suddenly stuff starts happening around my career, where I lose that position, right? And I'm at kind of an in between place, and it's going to bring up all those buried emotions from childhood of not feeling good enough, or not feeling like a fraud, right? Whatever that is. But you want to stay committed. And what are you committed to, the position, like the external details of it? No, you're committed to what's going on inside you. Oh, this is a blessing because it's always been here. I've always had this, I'm not good enough and I feel like a fraud, and somebody's going to finally find out who I really am, those kinds of thoughts, but they've been buried, right? So it's often will attract, we're the ones creating this, right? So go to the wounded inner child is creating this, right? So the career falls apart so that this stuff can come up, right? So this stuff can come up, otherwise it won't come up. So that's your commitment, Scorpio, is don't get caught up in the details of what's going on in your life and during this retrograde period, but go inside, right? Go inside. It's like, okay, this is just my work to do. It's like, when you have to go clean your car, clean the basement, things that you avoid, and to clean the fridge and don't enjoy it, defrost the freezer, whatever it is. It's like, this is the day, roll up the sleeves, and this is the day. Well, this is the work, the inner work, But what's on the other side is great expansion and more power. And Scorpio loves power, more power for you in your career so that you'll be really able to step into this, a new position, right? A new position. And it may be like the same position, but you're approaching it in a whole new way, a more powerful way. You're not trying to prove yourself, right? And also, I'd look at your father issues too, because the 10th house can represent your father, right? To look at that. Maybe he was half-hearted, maybe he wasn't very ambitious or whatever, and you've taken on some of these qualities of your father. To look at that. It's just committing to love, right? Scorpio, committing to your own sense of self-love in a real way. It's not a real way of loving yourself is without conditions, right? So I've got that top job. I love myself. I don't have any job. I'm unemployed. I still love myself the same, right? And also, I just want to say, because we're in this stand up for yourself theme, right? Is your reputation. So Venus retrograde, some old relationship from the past, right? In the workplace can come up, and maybe people are slandering you or gossiping about you or whatever. You got to be taking the high road, Scorpio, right? That's standing up for yourself. So just keep that in mind. We're going through huge spiritual tests during the Venus retrograde period. Okay. Okay. So let's go for Sagittarius here. Whoops, where'd it go? Sagittarius. Scorpio. So Sagittarius is in the ninth house, right? 12, 11, 10, 11. It's in the ninth house. So Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, Venus retrograde in your ninth house. So this is being half-hearted about your belief system. Isn't that interesting? Or your spirituality, your relationship with your spirituality, or how you're seeing life. How you're being half-hearted about that. So this is just because that's your Sagittarius house, right? That's the ninth house of beliefs. It's I feel like it's a commitment to your optimism as a Sagittarius, right? No matter what I see out there in the world, like it's really not good for you to you're not a pessimistic sign, right? So if any pessimism is coming up, of like, I feel hopeless about the world. Look at all these horrible things that are happening, and it's so corrupt and it's so big, and we're never going to fix this as a humanity. Right there, I would say that's half-hearted. That's the shadow of half-hearted. And possibly you've taken this belief system or this way of seeing the world from a parental figure, because remember, we're dealing with the divine child, the inner child here. Like, oh, I'm not seeing through my eyes. I'm seeing through my parents, a parent, a caretaker. Maybe that was very pessimistic when growing up. Like everything was, they were negative Nelly. Everything was really, really negative. Is to look at that. Oh, this isn't my point of view. This is, I've taken on the point of view of someone else, right? During this Venus retrograde, because it's coming up. Right? It's like, when you get indigestion, you got to be you got to have that big burp. This is what you're burping up, right? That's connected to the wounded child that feels hopeless, right? That feels like there's no hope, like things will never change. You want to let that go, right? And so you want to commit to optimism, right? You want to commit to that belief system. Positive. Sagittarius is a very positive sign, right? They're here to give hope to other people. whoever they're surrounded by. But also to feel that, because what's fueling that, right? There's always something needs to fuel that, those kinds of thoughts, and especially a belief system, something has to fuel it. And that's these stuck emotions from childhood, right? The negativity and the fear, right? The fear. Well, you know, you probably caught yourself doing this too. It's like, well, I can't get my hopes up too high because I'll be disappointed. You may have been taught that as a child too. Don't get your hopes up, right? If you get them up, you're going to be so disappointed when it doesn't come through. There you are creating that, right? So to let that go, right? To let that go. It's like have your hopes up, commit to have faith, right? The ninth house is faith and to hope for the future. I'm committed to that. And I'm going to feel that any fears that come up when I catch myself going really, really negative and thinking pessimistically. It's like, okay, I'm going to just feel the fear. The fear is coming from my childhood. It has nothing to do with what's going on for me right now in this present moment. And commit to expansion. It's like that's a house of expansion. I'm committed to expansion. I'm not committed to contraction. I'm committed to expansion. Yeah, it's letting go of some old belief systems during this Venus retrograde. And it has to do with your family. Okay. Let's do Capricorn. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And that's in the 8th house, right? Yeah. So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the Venus retrograde and the shadow of half-heartedness and the gift of commitment and devotion is happening in your 8th house. So this is a great house of transformation, right? Beginnings and endings. This is the rebirth house, right? But it also has to do with your partnership, your marriage partner, someone that you share resources with, Capricorn. There can be some kind of half-heartedness there in your partnership. Venus retrograde, so it's about relationships, right? And sometimes it's the point. Venus retrograde. Am I gonna commit to this relationship, or am I leaving this relationship? Yeah. So it can bring things to a head, right? So it doesn't mean maybe you have problems with your marriage partner, Capricorn, but maybe you're being really called to recommit. I'm gonna commit with my partner. My partner really wants to work through things with me, so and I'm committed. Or you know what? I feel I'm overly committed. I've been wanting this person to change forever and they haven't, and they're not willing to do this work. Then I'm gonna break the bond, right? And that can bring huge transformation. So either choice, right, brings huge transformation, but it's your choice to make. Nobody else can make the choice for you. The half-heartedness is the postponement. Well, we'll see what happens, Capricorn, right? See how this plays out, wanting them to do it, right? Well, if it were meant to be, then they would do this or they wouldn't do that, right? And this is North Node Aries. This is about taking initiative and making a choice and then standing by it, standing by your commitment. What else? It's commitment, Capricorn, commitment to the transformational process that you're in right now, because it's the 8th house. It's crises, right? The 8th house brings a crisis. So if a crisis comes, I'm going to commit to this experience. I'm not going to go half-heartedness and try to escape and try to avoid it, because it will chase you, right? This 4629, this is the channel of discovery. And the lesson in the channel of discovery is to surrender to the experience. And if you prematurely exit, like I'm getting out of this relationship, I'm avoiding this experience, then it gets recreated for you. You can't escape your lessons, your spiritual lessons, right? And Capricorn's good at that, right? Of all the signs, they're the most committed signs, but they're committed to more of the practical, not like the deep emotional, psychological work. And that's what you're being really called to do with this Venus retrograde. Yeah. And so it can be bringing up some traumas from your childhood for you to look at and to integrate, some phobias, right? So remember, like I said with the other signs, is don't get too focused on the details of the crisis, whatever the crisis is, right? Is to go commit to like what is coming up for you about it, right? I'm feeling a lot of fear. I'm feeling out of control. I'm feeling angry about this. It's not going my way. Whatever it is, that's your work, right? It's to integrate that. And remember, I've got my inner child awakening the sleepy phoenix program. If you feel like you need support, right? That's going to start next week with live calls. Yeah, it's about commit. This is the Phoenix house. The eighth house is the Phoenix house. It's about you going through a huge change through this Venus retrograde period. Right? I'm committed to the experience. I'm not going to try to escape it. I'm committed to it. Okay. And let's go for Aquarius. Okay. And this Aquarius Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is happening in the seventh house for you. And this is your relationship, right? This is your partner. So this is the stop, Aquarius, is to stop any codependency, right? Any kind of dependency on your partner. To let that go. Giving your authority over to your partner, Aquarius, to let that go. And again, choosing, right? The Venus retrograde period can be a time of choice. Am I going to commit to this relationship or am I going to go? Right? And that's your choice to make as an Aquarius. But it's really a focus on your relationship, right? And how you've been in relationships. Venus retrograde. Even if you're not in a relationship, you'll be called to reflect on your past relationships. And I say to go even further back than that, and that's to go to your childhood, right? Because your relationships, however they are, if they're really unhealthy, not every relationship is super unhealthy, but this Venus retrograde period is saying that there's some things to work on, right? In terms of your relationship, things to work on, things to look at, maybe that you haven't seen before. And your partner is going to be a mirror for that. Your partner will show you where you need to work on, and so don't blame them because that's what the ego and the mind do. It's like, it's them, it's their problem. If they didn't have this problem, I wouldn't have a problem. My problem is they have a problem. That's just the game of the ego and mind that keeps you in postponement. This is the shadow, right? Of half-heartedness. Is to bring it back inside, right? Your partner's telling you, listen to what your partner's telling you. Well, you never listen to me, right? You never listen to me. You just talk about yourself. You don't seem to really care about what I think, right? Or how my day was or anything like that. Instead of the ego, that person's so needy, right? If they weren't so needy, then if they were just like me, independent, then everything would be fine. It's no, you don't do that. Venus retrograde, you turn it inward. And what do you say? You don't go into blame. You go, okay, well, what did he say? You never listened to me. Oh, how do I not listen to me? How do I not listen to my own inner child? How do I not listen to my own emotions, my own inner voice? How do I not listen to my heart and my truth? How do I not listen to that? That's how you work with this, work with this energy for Venus retrograde. Remember, this is a time of great growth, right? This summer, this year. It's preparing us for Pluto moving into your sign, Aquarius, in January. Then everything is changing really, really, really fast. So you're being prepared for that, right? And that means coming into an intimate relationship with yourself, right? As an Aquarius. So don't go into half-heartedness. It's like, this their problem. It's not my problem. It has nothing to do with me. I'm perfect. You know, it's half-heartedness. You want to be committed to your growth, right? You want to be committed to your growth. And it's going to come through your relationships, right? And it will go right back to your childhood, like back to the listening thing. I wasn't listened to as a child. I'm having memories of that, you know? And now I've just internalized it as normal, and it's not normal. You know, it's about reclaiming your inner child back. This is the rescue mission for your inner child, Venus retrograde. Okay, anything else for, and you'll know you're doing really well is when, back to the mirror, is when your relationships become very committed to you. They're committed to you in a real way, right? That's when you know you got the thumb, you got the gold star, Aquarius. Okay. So let's finish it off with Pisces. With Pisces. Where's my Pisces? There we go. Pisces, sun, moon, or rising. And that's going to happen in your 6th house, right? So this is the shadow of half-heartedness, the gift of commitment and devotion in the 6th house. And this is about your health, can be about your health. So not going into half-heartedness about your health, which is like postponing. Oh, I'll start working out, you know, when the summer's over and I'm more stable and I can get my gym membership back. Postponement, put it off. It's not the time. It's not, that's the shadow of half-heartedness. So this is about committing, right? You're getting lots of information, especially Venus in the 6th house. Venus makes things easy too, like solutions. Well, okay, I'm going to commit to this regimen. This really works for me, right? I really like going swimming or aquafit or whatever it is. And I'm going to do that 3 times a week and I'm going to commit to it. I'm not going to be half-hearted. Half-hearted is like, I don't feel like doing it, right? I don't feel like doing it today. I'll do it another day. And then it gets bumped and bumped and bumped, right? And the 6th house is like your daily routine, right? So as soon as you just commit, that's the gift of commitment. Then all that energy that gets wasted on, should I go or shouldn't I go? Maybe I will, maybe I don't. Won't today, no, maybe I'll go next week, right? That wastes your energy, Pisces, like you're hemorrhaging energy. As soon as you say, I'm committed to 3 times a week, here's the times, and I just go. Then it frees up all that energy that you've been wasting and it makes you more powerful. So it's about your health. Get committed to your health. Also about fixing other people's problems, right? The 6th house, love, because it's traditionally ruled by Virgo, but it's in your Leo house, and this is where you shine, right? Pisces is Leo. Leo is where we shine. You do shine in fixing other people's problems, but this is Venus retrograde. Are you fixing people's problems by sacrifice, like in a low frequency way. Well, I'm exhausted when I help this other person, right? And they come over and I help them and I give them free counseling and tell them this is what they should do and they should what they shouldn't do. And then they leave and I'm exhausted. Well, that's a sign that that's not true giving, that's not true helping, right? So maybe Venus retrograde is getting you to look at that, right? Like, how are you giving, right? Are you giving from that place of martyrdom, or are you giving from a true place where you feel energized, or both, right? Both parties are elevated by the end of your exchange, right? To look at that. And any kind of addiction to improvement, because it's the house of improvement too. Yeah. So it's bringing the focus to yourself, right? So don't fix other people. Try to do that even for Venus retrograde. I'm not going to fix anybody. I'm just going to focus on myself and my health routines and my own habits. Right? Do you see when you're wishy-washy with your habits, then anybody can come in and step over all your boundaries because you've got no boundaries. You got to set your own boundaries as a Pisces. This is when I'm available. This is when I'm not available. Right? Yeah. Wuji. Wuji's let me know that it's ended. Okay. So that's it. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And just a reminder about this. So if you're not on my newsletter, scoot over and sign up for the free newsletter, and I'll have more information. And remember, I'm combining these two programs, the Heal Your Inner Child, the Awakening the Sleeping Phoenix. This is all the emotional work, right? This comes from years and years of doing my own personal work and my own research and working with other people. Okay, so we have to do this work. We have to reclaim our inner child. This is the emotional purification. This is the solar plexus mutation. There's lots of information about what the evolutionary process that we're in right now. And then the inner child work, the emotional work, and gives you real tools. And the great thing, so I'm combining the two. So if you've already been in one of them, then you're already in, okay? And they'll come with live meetings, right? So I'm going to start that next Sunday. There'll be live Zoom meetings. And so my prayer is that we really work as a group. There's quite a few people already in these programs that they come back, right? And so I'll put more information in my newsletter about that in my website too. And email me at support@neutrinoastrology.com if you have any questions, and the contact page is on my website too. Okay. So I'll be talking about Venus retrograde as we continue on, right? Because it's going to change. It's going to move from the 29 to the 7. And so I'll remind people about the work that we're doing just to keep us focused. Okay. So have a great day or evening wherever you are. And please like and share and write a comment or two. Okay. Thank you. Satnam. Aloha.